a very warm welcome. I am Gushin Galan and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, I get you the top 40 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started. We begin with Asia. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will arrive in India today for a 5-day official visit aimed at boosting diplomatic and economic ties. During his stay, he will meet top Indian leaders including President Droupadi Murmu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar with bilateral talks scheduled. Marcos Jr. will also be visiting Bengaluru city. Security forces have neutralized one terrorist in Jammu and Kashmir's Kulgam district as operations continue for the 4th straight day. The joint counter-terror operation led by the Indian Army, J&K Police, CRPF and SOG has been ongoing in the Akal Devsa area. Top Trump aide Stephen Miller, who is the Deputy Chief of Staff at the White House, has accused India of funding Russia's war in Ukraine by purchasing oil from Moscow. In an interview, Miller claimed India is nearly tied with China in oil imports from Russia. However, he adds US President Trump has had a tremendous relationship with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Miller's comments follow the implementation of a 25% tariff on Indian products on August 1. Now from the war in Europe, Russia's defense ministry reported it had shot down 61 Ukrainian drones overnight, including 6 in Volgograd. A Ukrainian drone attack damaged infrastructure in Volgograd region, igniting a fire at the Archela train station and disrupting power lines. Authorities said an unexploded drone was also found nearby. The regional governor described the attack as massive and said it targeted energy and transport infrastructure. In West Asia, Israeli military strikes across Gaza on Sunday killed at least 92 Palestinians, including 56 people seeking humanitarian aid. The Gaza Health Ministry reported 5 more deaths from famine in the last 24 hours, raising the total hunger-related death toll to 180, including 93 children. In the eastern Mediterranean, armed Druze groups attacked Syrian internal security forces in Sweida, killing at least 1 soldier and injuring others, according to state media. The militants reportedly shelled several villages and violated a ceasefire agreement in the southern region. The Syrian government condemned the renewed violence. The unrest follows recent sectarian clashes between Druze and Bedouin groups in the area. At least 76 people have died after a boat capsized in the Gulf of Aden off Yemen's southern coast on Sunday. 32 people were rescued from the shipwreck. The vessel carrying 154 people, mostly African migrants, sank near Abyan province. Dozens of bodies were recovered from the shore and nearby hospital morgues. Authorities are continuing a massive search and rescue operation. South Korea began removing loudspeakers near the North Korean border on Monday. The speakers had bled propaganda messages against Pyongyang for years. President Lee Jae-myung ordered their removal to reduce tensions with the North. Meanwhile, Pyongyang rejected recent calls for talks from Seoul. The two sides remain technically at war after the 1953 truce. Pakistan and Iran have pledged to boost bilateral trade to $10 billion and cooperate more closely on security issues, following a meeting between Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. The leaders condemned terrorism and vowed to promote regional peace and prosperity. Sharif reiterated support for Iran's peaceful nuclear ambitions and denounced Israel's recent military action against Iran. Ong Beng Seng, a Singapore-based billionaire hotelier, has pleaded guilty to helping former Transport Minister Subramaniam Iswaran obstruct justice during a corruption investigation. Ong had given lavish gifts, including private jet trip, while being involved in official dealings with the minister. Though he faced up to 7 years in jail, prosecutors recommended a fine due to Ong's serious health condition. He will be sentenced on August 15th. On to climate news now. In India, flood and rain-related incidents have claimed at least 12 lives in the state of Uttar Pradesh in the last 24 hours. Rescue teams and boats were deployed across 17 flood-hit districts. Officials said major rivers, including the Ganga, were flowing above danger mark in 5 districts. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath monitored relief operations and ordered aid for affected families. Meanwhile, in the capital, New Delhi, residents woke up to light showers and scattered clouds. This came after a day of heavy rain and waterlogging across the city on Sunday. Calmer skies returned to Taiwan on Monday. This comes after a day of heavy rainfall that triggered deadly floods and landslides across southern Taiwan on Sunday. Taiwan Premier called it a disaster of unusual scale during his visit to flood-hit city. At least 4 people died and over 500,000 were evacuated in the past week. Region received more than a year's worth of rain in just 7 days, highest recorded since 1939, say experts. China's National Observatory issued an orange alert for storms on Monday. This comes after a day of heavy rainfall that forced evacuations and rescues across China on August 3rd. At least 100 people were moved to a safe place in northern province due to landslide risks. Rescue team and coastal city saved 6 tourists trapped by rising flood waters. Meanwhile, heavy rains are expected in over 15 regions from Monday to Tuesday. Officials warned of flash floods, landslides and urged people to stay alert. In Russia, Krasnodar woke up to calmer weather after major flooding struck the region on Sunday. Heavy rains flooded at least 34 homes across 3 villages. Emergency crews set up temporary shelters and began evacuations. Meanwhile, a mudslide blocked a key motorway and damaged a bridge in southern province. Dozens of emergency workers were deployed to handle the crisis. Local officials warn of more storms today. Spain and Portugal continue to battle wildfires amid a scorching heat wave. Temperatures soared above 10 degrees above normal in some areas on Sunday. In Spain, firefighters tackled a blaze in a northwestern province that burned over 570 hectares. Meanwhile, fires have burnt more than 25,000 hectares of Portugal since the beginning of 2025. Officials have warned of a very high wildfire risk across both countries throughout the week. Scientists say climate change is making heat waves longer and more extreme. On to business and economic news now. Asian markets fluctuated earlier today, swinging between gains and losses as investors continued digesting President Trump's latest tariff blitz. A sharp drop in US jobs data has also added to the jitters, with just 73,000 positions added last month and unemployment rising to 4.2%. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan firmed 0.6%, aided by 0.8% rally in South Korean stocks. Meanwhile, Japan's Nikkei fell 1.6%. India's stock markets edged up as gains in metals and auto stocks outweighed losses in the information and technology sector. The Nifty rose 0.28% to 24,632 earlier today, while the Sensex added to 0.18% to touch 80,753. Metal jumps 1.6% on a weaker dollar, auto gains after strong numbers last month, but IT stocks fell as US tariffs and weak job data hit sentiment. Meanwhile, oil prices slipped after OPEC Plus agreed to raise output by over 500,000 barrels per day in September, adding to supply pressures already weighing on the market. Brent crude dropped to just under $69.50 a barrel earlier today, while West Texas Intermediate slid to $67.21 a barrel. This after both benchmarks closed about $2 lower on August 1. Switzerland said it was open to reworking its trade offer to the US after President Trump imposed a 39% import tariff. The move sparked fears of a recession, with experts warning that Swiss GDP could shrink by over 1% if pharmaceutical exports are also targeted. The government will hold a special meeting before August 7 as talks continue to avert the tariffs, and Swiss officials say they may travel to Washington if needed. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to speak with President Trump in the coming days after the US imposed a 35% tariff on goods not covered under a US-Mexico-Canada agreement. Canada's trade minister said talks with the US were ongoing and a deal to lower tariffs was still possible despite tensions over fentanyl smuggling claims. China has approved 183 Brazilian coffee companies to start exporting to its market in a move that reportedly took effect on July 30. The decision comes as the US prepares to impose a 50% tariff on some Brazilian products from August 6, including coffee worth $4.4 billion in annual trade. Brazil exports around 8 million bags of coffee to the US each year, but sold just 56,000 bags to China in June, highlighting the potential for growth in the Chinese market. Iran's Parliamentary Economic Commission approved a plan to remove 4 zeros from its national currency, the rial. The long-delayed redomination, first proposed in 2019, was revived on Sunday amid soaring inflation and a collapsing exchange rate. If passed, one new rial would be worth 10,000 old rials and subdivided into 100 kerans. Over 3,200 Boeing workers in Missouri and Illinois are going on strike today after rejecting a second contract offer. The union turned down a 4-year deal that included a 40% average wage hike, a 20% general pay rise and a $5,000 signing bonus. Boeing said operations will continue under a contingency plan as the strike affects F-15 and F-A-18 fighter jets production along with other key defense programs. Vietnamese carmaker VinFast began production at a $500 million electric vehicle plant in southern India's state of Tamil Nadu. It is a part of VinFast's planned $2 billion investment in India and a broader expansion across Asia. The factory will initially make 50,000 electric vehicles annually with room to triple output 150,000 cars. A new report suggested that US railroad shipper groups are urging regulators to block Union Pacific's $85 billion merger with rival Norfolk Southern, warning it could hurt service and spike freight prices. At least 7 associations of shippers have reportedly expressed concerns. Union Pacific said it had spoken with more than 100 customers about low-cost rail options. Moving to sports, we start with cricket. The final test at the Oval heads into day 5 after rain and bad light halted play on day 4. England slipped from 301 for 3 to 337 for 6 after key wickets by Prasidh Krishna and Mohammad Siraj. England's Harry Brook and Joe Root's dismissal gave India a way back into the game. England need to reach a total of 374 to win, while India must win to level the series. Ravindra Jadeja hit his 6th score of over 50 runs in the England series. The all-rounder has shattered a 58-year-old record set by legend Gary Sobers in 1966. Jadeja also joined Sobers as the only visiting player with 1,000-plus runs and 30-plus wickets in England. He's had an incredible Test series, averaging 86 with the bat. Pakistan beat West Indies by 13 runs in Florida to seal the T20 International Series 2-1. Sahib Zala Farhan and Saim Ayub put on a 138-run opening stand to set the tone. Farhan smashed 74 of 53 balls and Ayub added 66 of 49 deliveries. Pakistan posted 189 for 4. They defended it successfully despite a late West Indies fight back. In football, Lionel Messi left the field injured just 11 minutes into the Inter Miami's League Cup match. He appeared to strain his hamstring while dribbling into the box. Coach Javier Mascherano said Messi felt discomfort, but it might not be serious. Messi was subbed off and will undergo further evaluation. In tennis, Poland's Iga Świątek lost to Clara Tauson in the 4th round of the Canadian Open. Tauson, ranked 19th, avenged her Wimbledon loss with a 7-6, 6-3 win. Świątek joins Coco Gauff, Jessica Pegula and Mira Andreeva in an early exit. After the win, Tauson said she's finally feeling like she belongs at this level. 18-year-old Victoria Mboko beat top seed Coco Gauff in straight sets at the Montreal Open. The wildcard Canadian needed just 62 minutes to seal the win. Mboko has dropped only 1 set in the entire tournament so far. She now advances to the quarterfinals and will face Spain's Jessica Bozaz Manero. Naomi Osaka won 6-1, 6-0 to reach her first quarterfinal at a big event since 2024. It was her most convincing win since returning from maternity break. The Japanese star is slowly regaining form after a rocky comeback here. This is Osaka's most dominant win since 2018, dropping just 1 game in the entire match. In athletics, Shakari Richardson failed to qualify for the 200 meters final at US Nationals. She missed out by just 0.01 seconds, finishing fourth in her heat. She still has a guaranteed spot in 100 meters at the World Championships. Her week was rocked by a domestic violence arrest involving her partner. Noah Lyles clocked 19.63 seconds to win the 200 meters at the US Championships. It's the quickest finish time of the world this season. Lyles surged past Kenny Bednarek, who shoved him after the finish line. A tense verbal encounter ensued before the two athletes shook hands. In Formula One, Lewis Hamilton called his 12th place finish in Hungary absolutely useless. He hinted at off-track issues, saying a lot is going on, that's not great. When asked about racing, he said he still loves the sport and the team. He also replied, quote-unquote, hopefully about her returning after the break, which sparked retirement rumours. And finally, in entertainment news, pop star Dua Lipa has been awarded Kosovan citizenship by the president. The British-born singer, whose parents are Kosovan Albanian, lived in Pristina during her early teens before returning to London. Sharing the news on Instagram, Lipa said she felt grateful for the honour. The president also posted a photo with Lipa writing, "Welcome home, Dua." A man in his 40s died after falling during a SS concert at London's Wembley Stadium on Saturday night. Emergency services responded to the scene, but the man was pronounced dead. The band expressed deep sorrow and police are urging witnesses to come forward. Despite the tragedy, Sunday's show went on as planned. The concert was part of Oasis' comeback tour, its first in 16 years. Virginia Gina Huron, named as victim 3 in the federal indictment against Sean Diddy Combs, has written to the judge backing his release on bail before sentencing in October. Though cited in court documents, she didn't testify and stated Combs hasn't been violent for many years and remains committed to his children and community. Tom Holland has shared behind-the-scenes photos from Spider-Man Brand New Day as filming kicks off. The images show him suited up and ready for action. This comes one day after Sony teased a revamped Spidey suit, this time sticking closer to the classic comic book design. And Marvel's Fantastic Four First Steps took a steep 66% plunge in its second weekend, earning $40 million after a $117.6 million debut. Despite positive reviews and little competition, the superhero reboot is struggling to break out beyond die-hard fans, raising doubts about its staying power. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. I am Gushin Galan and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Until then, stay informed and stay tuned to Firstpost.